Right, and that's the thing, if we're so focused on pursuing something that we want outside of what we already have, then we forget to notice the people who are actually appreciating what we do. Like, we have this thinking maybe that, okay, if somebody appreciates me, something's wrong with them. That's a kind of thinking I think that we can resort to if we're not like 100% confident about our own value on the marketplace.
Want to listen to this Ivory Tower Boiler Room or True Crime and Academia episode ad free? Head on over to our Patreon and join either the ITBR student or the ITBR professor level. Both levels of membership have a 7-day free trial. With the ITBR professor level, you also not only get access to all of our video episodes, like listening or watching Scream Part 2, you also get access to the Ivory Tower Boiler Room and True Crime and Academia book clubs. The book clubs are going to each be a 1-hour private Zoom. I'm hosting the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. Mary DePippi's hosting the True Crime and Academia ones. So with the ITBR professor level, you get access to all of our video and audio episodes, plus our book clubs. And make sure you download the Patreon app on your phone for such an accessible, easy to use way to consume our content. Okay, can't wait to see you all on Patreon.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Your brain needs support, and new Ollie Brainy Chews are a delightful way to take care of your cognitive health. Made with scientifically backed ingredients like Thai ginger, L-theanine, and caffeine, Brainy Chews support healthy brain function and help you find your focus, stay chill, or get energized. Be kind to your mind and get these nootropic chews at ollie.com. That's OLLY.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Hi, this is Dr. Andrew Rimby, and before you hear such an exciting episode, I want to remind you all that when I'm not here hosting the Ivory Tower Boiler Room, I am running my small business, the Ivory Tower Boiler Room, where I am consulting with clients. It includes academic writing consulting, social media, podcast, and expanding your media footprint. So, I have clients I'm working on graduate school writing with them. I can work on thesis writing, dissertation writing, essay advice, college admission essays, undergrad, college advice, graduate school advice. I also am working on a client's small business right now and expanding her social media footprint. I can work on how to create a podcast with you or how to expand your podcast audience. I also can just help you expand your media footprint in general. So, if you're interested in my consulting, I first want to let you all know it is only $30 for the first hour that I work with you on consulting, and then I'll set up a package with you then. So you can email me at ivorytowerboilerroom@gmail.com. Or you could go to our Patreon, patreon.com/Ivory Tower Boiler Room. And there's a consulting option under memberships. You can pay the $30 and then I will reach out to you right away and we'll set up a consultation. And then while you're on our Patreon, make sure you join the Ivory Tower Boiler Room and the True Crime and Academia Book Club. Every month, both myself and Mary are choosing books for our book club members to read. And we are actually polling our members on Patreon to see what books they want to read. And we're meeting with them the first week of each month. So if you want to join the book club each month, just make sure that you join on Patreon. That way I know who's joined and I can reach out to all of you and let you know when we're meeting on Zoom. Okay, so lots of things to do here in the Ivory Tower Boiler Room, and I can't wait to consult with you, join you for a book club discussion, and have you here listening to one of our podcast episodes. Okay, enjoy this episode. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. This is Dr. Andrew Rimby, and I'm really excited about this conversation because so many of you out there, you reach out to me about starting your own businesses. What did it take to go into public humanities or to bet on yourself as an artist, a writer, a creator? And I'm joined here with a friend, very good friend of mine, someone I've known almost since I started at Stony Brook, and now having ended at Stony Brook, it's been about 9 years. So we've probably known each other for like 8.5 years, which time has flown by for us. So I'm joined with such a kind person, a beautiful soul. Her creativity has always astounded me, Miss Anne Sophie Andersen. Hi, Anne Sophie Andersen slash Sophie.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, it's been just so wonderful seeing your journey. And when I said I really wanted to talk with you and present more of our, what I call like ITBR teaches episodes or an informal conversation for the
Mm.
public, I thought that now that I'm done my PhD, now I'm offering consulting for those who want to do podcasts or need writing help, need social media branding help. And I'm like, wait, Sophie has created her whole music festival and you went on your own as an artist. And I know that you've been doing this journey being, I'll call it freelance, but I'm sure you have a better, entrepreneur. I'll say you're music
Right. Yeah.
entrepreneur, and I'm an academic entrepreneur. We're both entrepreneurs. When did you know, even if you want to tell everyone out there about your process at Stony Brook or, how we met, when did you know, okay, this really, I need to be doing something that is fulfilling for myself, that really speaks to my heart?
Mhm. Well, it kind of started out that way, to be frank, but it just kind of morphed into something different than it was at first. So I started my career really when I was 4 years old, and the first time I heard a violin soloist, I was just so taken in with everything that was going on stage. The big gowns, all of the limelight, the expressivity of everything, and so I thought, this is what I want to do. And so that was a goal that I pursued for the next many, many years of my career. But it just turned out that path didn't work out for me. Because I'm not really cut out for the whole competition environment. So I kind of realized that along the way, and I had to think of some other possibilities for what I could do career wise. And that's when my teacher, Philip Setzer of the Emerson Quartet, and I came up with this idea of starting a music festival in Denmark, where I'm from. So I did that, and I did that for many years, and I don't think I ever kind of thought of that as a career goal, but that's one of the things that happened. And I think along the way, like learning from doing that and just learning from the way that the whole music environment changed during those years, from when I was a student and up until this moment in time, I think I just realized that what I wanted wasn't really what I wanted in a sense. Um, so yeah, that's a short version of that story.
Well, and new music for strings. We'll plug your festival, right?
Uh,
Going
yeah.
in what? How long have you had new music for strings, Sophie?
It started in 2016, and the
Oh,
last festival was this year, this August, so very recent. This was the
yeah.
seventh edition.
Wow. I remember that first year or when you were planning and just all the different stages. For everyone out there, Sophie and we would like hang out during blizzards. I just remember this beautiful snowstorm where you were like working on your composition. I was probably reading and writing and full of all my uh, you know, deadlines that I was getting to as well. And you always just so knew your voice, or you taught me about what it meant to really not listen to the naysayers or the critics. Like that's something I've now finally learned, is to turn off that noise of not
Mm-hmm.
needing that validation. Because I think for so long I was looking for validation from the university as my identity. And now that I'm not at a college after 12 years, like from undergrad to grad, and having my PhD, I realized, wait, I'm not at a college right now. And this is probably the best thing the universe could have done, which is to give me a pause or a refresh, a reset. And whether the university I enter back in a capacity, it will be what it will be. And I'm not saying I wouldn't love to have the university be there for me
Mm-hmm.
to enter back into, but I really do feel there's something calling me right now, Sophie, to be in media, for me to really connect all these artists together and to just have more of a public voice. And I mean, what else am I doing with my LGBTQ work and advocacy and literature and culture
Mm-hmm.
if it isn't for the public? I mean, there were things at the university that even I, like yourself, the hardest part for me was feeling it never was that it was always restarting every semester. Like I always wanted
Mm-hmm.
continuity. Like it
Right.
was wonderful. Like I have wonderful students out there who have gone on to amazing careers. I love following them, but I do follow them. Like I get to see what they do on social media. But for so many faculty, they don't have a social media profile. They don't want to follow their students after. And even with conferences, it can feel that you've all done such enlightened thinking and then it's done. And I'm like, but where's the aftermath? Like, where's the
Right. Right.
archive? And it's like now there is an archive of conversations. And I realized, wait, I had to create this. Like yourself. I mean, what gives you so much passion? Like, what is it about new music for strings, or just what's fueling you right now?
Well, I feel like first of all, there's so much of what you said to unpack. So one thing I think is really really important for my journey, for everyone's journey, is focusing away from getting approval and affirmation, and refocusing onto alignment. So really, it's not about finding people who'll accept you and tell you that you're good enough. Like so many of us believe that, and it's just not true. I mean, sure, there are some times when you're not good enough, but you usually know when that's the case, right? And you go back and work on whatever it is you have to work on. But really, it's more about like what's aligned with my passion, like who is doing something out there that's on the same frequency as I want to be. And when that's the case, you naturally find each other. It's not about like getting ahead of the pack and like achieving some kind of job that ultimately affirms that you're worthy of whatever that job gives you. And I think that's so important to realize. And another thing that I think is really important is just the whole idea of hierarchies and dismantling the hierarchies of academia or music or whatever it is, because we're kind of raised on these ideas that they're sort of fixed positions or strata in society that we can achieve. And like if you achieve one thing, then you're at this level. If you achieve like higher status, then you're a little bit higher level, and then people sort of behave like that. And I really think that's something that belongs to the 20th century, frankly. We're about to move on from that, and we're moving on to a world where everyone is trying to realize their own potential, and finding those who are in alignment with their potential. So to me, that's something I'm really, really passionate about, and that I've also tried to create in the projects that I've spearheaded. I've tried to create that kind of environment where everyone can realize their potential and everyone can feel like they're equals, trying to create something together.
I love everything you've said. I mean, the alignment aspect, there's such a powerful spirituality right now I feel in my life of
Mm-hmm.
like how nature or collaboration, like this theme right now in my life is about, you've said it so beautifully. So I don't want to try to paraphrase, Sophie, something that you've so succinctly and just poetically said. It reminds me of having my friend Sarah, who read my birth chart on the show, who is an astrologer, and
Mm-hmm.
realizing, oh, there's something of meaning of just listening to even my astrological chart, or how I'm starting to find those like-minded people, that the frequency you put out there is attracting those who see your authenticity. And like that's what always resonates so much with me, is when listeners, when they are messaging and they say, I was thinking about that topic and I'm so glad you voiced it, or I thought I was the only one who thought that I put my whole identity in this career, but that really wasn't the happiness I needed. My happiness was within myself. And I've
Mm.
said it to so many, Sophie. This is truly the first time, and I hope it doesn't sound like sympathy that I'm looking for, because I'm not, but it is the first time where I really can say that I can look at the mirror and I'm happy. Like I'm content and I'm not looking for that approval of a profession trying to approve who I am. And right, when you get a PhD, it is all about the deadlines, the goals, the, steps that you take. And I think once I submitted my dissertation, I realized, wait, this is now my work. Like I am now, yes, I had a beautiful committee, a beautiful support system, and I thank all of them. But I'm sure they would
Mm.
say now's the time for me to launch myself into the universe, to really see I need to take risks. Like I feel that I now can take risks, and I'm excited that I'm nervous. Like for the first time, I'm actually really nervous, but it's a good
Mm.
energy. It's like that nervous energy of what's going to happen next. I am here with the co-owner of one of my favorite stores here in Port Jefferson Village, New York. It is called the Soapbox. So Janine said, Andrew, I have these 4 products you need to get your hands on. It's called 4 for Fall. So she's going to go over these 4 products. I know first you have a soap for me. What is the
I
soap?
do. I have the soap for you. It is called Apple Cider Shea Butter Soap. It's by a company called Greenwich Bay. And this is a great soap because you can use it for your hands or your body. And it has a delicious apple cider scent. And I think you're actually already familiar with it.
Yes, it is
Tried
in
it.
my shower. I still have it. It lasts a very long
Yeah,
time.
great lather.
The lather's wonderful.
Mhm.
It's just so luxurious, and I love the scent into November.
Yes,
You know, this
it
apple
carries.
cider just it evokes so many cozy feelings.
Oh,
After the soap, we have something that you can add on to
yes.
in the shower. So what is this?
This is a wonderful, wonderful exfoliating shower scrub. It is by a company called Primal Almonds, and it's a sugar whip shower scrub. And the scent is pumpkin spice. It's a moisturizing sugar scrub. So it's tiny little sugar granules. And it's something that you would use after you shower twice a week because you don't want to strip your skin of your natural oils and your moisture, but it's wonderful. It just really exfoliates all that dead skin and leaves your skin very smooth and soft from all the sugar.
So after I use the exfoliant, right now we need to moisturize. So
Yeah,
I know you have a really nice fall body lotion for us.
absolutely. This is just such a delicious scent. This is one of my favorites for fall. The scent is Orchard Breeze, and it's by a company called Michelle Design Works. This is another product that you can use hand or body, hand and body. It's great. You can place it on your vanity, just a couple of pumps for your hands, or use it on your entire body. But it's shea butter based, so it's extremely moisturizing. It's just wonderful, and the scent is just lovely.
We need something more deep for our face. Everyone
Yes.
wants face masks, and I know that you absolutely love this company and this brand.
This is one of my favorite masks by one of my favorite companies that we carry and we support. The company is called Farmhouse Fresh, and they're right out of Texas. The mask is called Splendid Dirt, and it's a nutrient-rich mud mask. It consists of pumpkin puree, and the benefits of this mask, it's a pore minimizer, a radiance booster, and a skin degunker. So it's an all-around great mask. If you really want a boost of radiance, it brightens your skin and it really cleanses your pores.
If they live on Long Island or near Long Island, what is your address for them to come into the store?
We're located at 18 Chandler Square in Port Jefferson, New York, right in the village. And if you can't make it, you have to come in because we just have so much fun stuff in here, so many wonderful products. But if you can't make it in, please give us a call. We're more than happy to ship any of these wonderful products to you. Call us at 631-509-1424. You could always reach us on Instagram at the Soapbox NY, or you could always check us out on our website, Soapbox NY. And
Yeah, there's
I
so
think
many
that's
ways to
about it. We have
access your
so many
products.
ways to reach us.
And Janine is more than happy, and Mariana, the
Yes,
other co-owner,
my mom, actually.
yes,
Yes, my
are
mother.
so willing to take your orders
Yes.
via phone, via Instagram, and I can't wait for everyone else to enjoy these luxurious products. Imagine that you're riding the Turner Classic Movie Great Movie Ride in Hollywood studios. It's in the 1990s. As you're journeying through the Great Movie Ride, you pass the Wizard of Oz, where all of a sudden you see the Wicked Witch of the West ascend into Munchkinland in a cloud of smoke and flames. Well, that's the memory I have with the Great Movie Ride in classic cinema when I was at Disney in the 1990s as a young boy. And ever since that, I was hooked on classic cinema. Well, my friend Christian Garcia, friend of the Ivory Tower Boiler Room, has a podcast that you all are going to love. It's called That Old Gay Classic Cinema, and he looks at queer themes in classic cinema like Vertigo, The Wizard of Oz, Sleeping Beauty, Mary Poppins, 101 Dalmatians, Hello Dolly. The list can go on and on and on. So follow him on Instagram at That Old Gay Classic Cinema. You can listen to his podcast on Apple and Spotify. And he also is on the premiere episode of our Queer as Folk podcast, where I'm rewatching every episode of Queer as Folk from 2000. And the episodes come out bi-weekly. So make sure you listen to his episode with me. And he's launching a rewatch show of Smash, where they're putting on a Marilyn Monroe musical. So he's going to be joined by co-hosts, a lot who are in the Broadway and theater industry, and I'm going to be on his first episode. So without further ado, get listening to That Old Gay Classic Cinema. Enjoy.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And something I recognize from my own life as well. Because being an entrepreneur is in many ways a way of taking more risks than people who go for job security or working for someone else. But really, what you get in return for that is freedom to realize your own visions. And to me, that's extremely valuable. I mean, I have the kind of lifestyle where sometimes I don't know where my next paycheck is going to come from, or if it's going to come at all. And that's scary sometimes. But on the other hand, it's so liberating to know that everything I do, in a sense, is something that I choose and I create. And, I have the freedom to say no to something I don't want, or people who are not aligned with what I want to do. So that's a huge privilege to me.
And how do we work through the obstacles? Because you've been an entrepreneur longer than I have, and I'm already seeing, like you said, there is that liberation of even when I go to a grocery store now or the Dollar Tree, I just remember there's been beautiful fall decorations. And I think if anyone knows me, Sophie does, that I'm a huge Halloween horror fan. I'm like very obsessed with the Gothic and all of that, all of that energy. So, but even like being in a store, I can look around and think, wow, I'm just enjoying this moment. I think when you do work for a corporation or you have that 9 to 5, I was glad that I had an internship where I was more in the 9 to 5 because I really loved the workplace. Um, it was the College of Arts and Sciences at Stony Brook. I got to do a communications internship. And I want to shout out Rachel Rodriguez, the director, who taught me so much and is wonderful. So her, Danielle, who was hired there, were just excellent. And it does teach you, oh, okay, there's the structure of the workplace, there's the set schedule, but our schedule having this flexibility, I I needed to see that structure in order for me to understand, I really do love what it means when you own a business, right? When you own
Mhm.
your own work, there is that individuality and freedom. You're not working for a corporation or an industry that
Mhm.
they're not, right? We get to dictate where we see our vision. But you're right, the paycheck,
Exactly.
the
Mm.
finances are the obstacle. That obstacle is a huge obstacle. But this is
Right.
where,
And
how have you worked through that?
I'll mention one more thing, which to me has been a really big obstacle. And it's this idea that, when we start out, we kind of feel like I just need to get to the right level. I need to be good enough. I need to beat the competition, and then everybody's gonna see my value, and they'll hire me, or I'll get ahead, or whatever it is. But I've had to learn the hard way that it just doesn't work like that. Like you have to promote yourself constantly, and I think that that's a big obstacle for a lot of people. Like if you're not used to really putting yourself out there and like drawing people's attention to your worth and what you're able to do for them, that's something I had to learn for sure and still working on, frankly.
Well, and I've been so excited to see how much more you've been out there on social media because that's something
Mm-hmm.
people look to me. I really love shouting out businesses I go to, people who mean a lot to me. But I'm not nervous to be in front of the camera, which is where my theater background has really played a nice role, is how much I enjoy the performativity, but also you're right though, especially where we were trained. When you are trained in such a specialized field, right? For you, violin performance, and for me, literature,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't always attract the people who are used to being in front of the camera, right? Like we weren't going to acting school or modeling school.
Hmm.
It's a different industry, but I feel there's a way to merge these together, which has really excited me. Like to see you even showing not just your performances, but clips from the festivals or, you know, chatting with
Hmm.
those who are involved. I'm like, Sophie, she's getting out there. She's, more uncomfortable with the camera. It's been really
Hmm.
wonderful to see that evolution with you.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Well, and how do you start to, so many out there, I'm sure that's one of their biggest obstacles. Even with whatever work, you could be in a corporation and shouting out the work you're doing in that corporation. Again, you just have to
Hmm.
make sure you adhere to certain um, workplace regulations because all workplaces have different regulations about social media. But how did you eventually get that confidence? And I know you're working through it, but when did you realize, okay, I really do have to start to not feel selfish to promote myself? Because I think a lot of people, I would hear academics say to me, Sophie, I feel so
Hmm.
vain or narcissistic when I promote my work. And I'm like, no, no, no.
Right. Right.
No, go ahead.
No, I think I had to get over this idea that, other people had the responsibility to discover my value. Like I think I just in a way I expected that, if let's say if I hired other people or if I somehow proved my worth to people, then, there would be reciprocation. And sometimes there is, but like a lot of times there isn't. And I think I just had to get over this obstacle. That is that, that the people who promote themselves in a very aggressive ways are usually not very sympathetic people. I mean, that's a cliche. And I think I just had to ditch that cliche and say, you know what, everybody have to do this. And it's okay, you just have to do it in a sustainable way, in a way that's true to your integrity and your values. And as long as you stick to that, as long as you don't sell yourself out like some politicians do, to be frank, then yeah, you're gonna be okay.
And another obstacle I feel that I'm sure you have feelings about too is, I know we're talking more about promoting yourself.
Hmm.
And I also really think that that idea of being, um, you said not sympathetic. And that a lot of people who think that they're out there publicizing themselves and promoting themselves think that um they're narcissists are the only ones who are really talking up their work. But you're so
Mhm.
right that no, once you let go of that, you start to connect with those who also are putting themselves out there. And that's been something so exciting, are the ones who I connect to who have also created their own businesses, their own
Mhm.
media faces, done something with their PhD where I realized, wait, I interview so many creative writers who have a PhD. And that's been a topic with me, and realizing that um, a academic frame of mind can mean so many different things. And being an academic is not the university. And I know that might sound controversial, but being an academic is not tied only to the university. It's tied to whatever analysis you're bringing to a project. And like I see it
Absolutely.
in your work.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I mean, really, to me, being an academic is it's about having some critical approaches to your work. You know, having some solid tools that you can create solid analysis or whatever your work is like to just to have a certain quality, a certain standards, and certain kind of references. And above all, to me, it's really about critical thinking and freedom of speech. Um,
Yes, well, the freedom of
or at
speech,
least
let's get
those
into
really,
that.
yes,
The freedom of speech is
yes.
so important, Sophie. It's something I bring up on this podcast so much now, is about academic freedom, especially.
Hmm.
Again, I don't want to pit a an ivory tower boiler room versus the university picture, because I don't believe that. I know there's so many
Hmm.
professors, so many faculty who get to teach topics that are full of nuance, full of controversial material from whatever political side that might be seen as a vantage point. But I am seeing, especially as a queer scholar, that so many courses or so many topics that I really loved that I taught at Stony Brook, that when I bring guests onto the show, Sophie, they're telling me that they really can't teach those courses anymore, or like they're
Hmm.
now put under the microscope. And I'm seeing that it's
Right.
really, especially if you deal with sexuality or anything that can be seen as like you yourself having your identity in the curriculum, or your identity is part of the topic, that you're even
Hmm.
more under investigation. And I
Hmm.
feel, isn't this now the time where we should teach those topics, where we should push the envelope and cause debates?
Yes, definitely. And I think one of the things that people really need to realize is that this is not coming from one direction. This is coming from multiple directions. And these culture wars that, you guys started and unfortunately we've imported now in Denmark, are really based on the fact that you can grab onto any idea or any cultural phenomenon. And, if you want to concentrate power, you can just like twist it to your advantage. We're seeing that with universities who like use ideas about safe spaces or inclusion to shut down free speech, which is not at all in the spirit of those ideas. Just to name one example. So I very
Well,
much
the
agree with what you're saying here.
well, and the university, this is why I never believed in trigger warnings, is because a lot of my formative years as an undergrad were when academic debates happen. Like I had a lot of debates in the classroom when I was an undergrad. Like I remember
Mm-hmm.
the professor was so good at facilitating the debate, and professors, they are, or supposed to be, they're supposed to be trained in knowing how to do the Socratic method. So if someone brings up a topic that students are going to vehemently disagree with, especially this happened in my human sexuality course, like
Mm-hmm.
not even just about people's sexuality. I mean, like I remember some didn't believe in homosexuality, and like I was having it out with them in a civil way. Again,
Mm-hmm.
this wasn't fist
Right.
fighting. Like you can do it in a very just discursive way, which to me is what the university you were supposed to mirror uncomfortability, but in a space where you know you're going to be protected as a student by voicing something that others would disagree with and learning
Hmm.
discourse, learning political, not political, but you're learning rhetoric. We should be
Right.
learning the rhetorical strategies of argument.
Definitely. And to add one more thing to that, to me, one of the really central points of having a culture that promotes free speech is the fact that if we don't have those open discussions, if we don't allow, let's say, the dominant ideas to be challenged and for people to have that kind of context and learning experience, we know for a fact that there's going to be some extremist with a much more sinister agenda, ready and in the side halls waiting to grab onto those people.
Yeah.
So to me, that's one of the most scary propositions of this whole development.
Well, and something that I knew there was trouble brewing when I was applying for positions. Again, I've only applied to a few faculty positions. I might, we'll see again. I I'm betting on myself, Sophie, like I've said here. I feel that
Right.
I can really take this business full time and full scale. That
Hmm.
if I did adjunct, I've thought about maybe teaching a few courses and like having that supplemental in conjunction with the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. But something that the writing was on the wall when I was getting advice from multiple professors that me being so erotic in my work and with the male sexual environment of poetry, whether it was Whitman or
Hmm.
Wilde or anything I turn my lens to, everyone out there knows I'm really trained in male relations. Like that is
Right.
my specialty. Um, and it makes me good for gay culture and having all of these types of conversations on the podcast. But I was told, are you sure you really want to talk about that in your work? Like, are you sure you want to do that in your letters? And I'm thinking, if I have to try to sell myself as
Hmm.
more of a straight, sanitized Andrew, why would I want to be in that environment? Like, it doesn't even
Yeah.
ethically make sense to me. Like, is this a place that would really even value my voice?
Yeah, and a smart colleague of mine said at one point that you have to balance idealism and pragmatism in your work. Because like you can't go too far out of the idealism tangent, that way you're just gonna paint yourself into a corner. Like you have to some extent meet people where they are and where where there's a market for your work. But you can never go so far as to sacrifice your authenticity for that. And I think that's really, it's so important to learn where that balance is for you. And, it varies from person to person. Like some people may be ready to go very far. And for some people, like they have a sort of very narrow brand that they need to stick with. And I think you have to be aware of what consequences you're willing to accept as a result of staying true to what you want. Because let's be real, there are consequences to
Hmm.
valuing your authenticity and your work. And I mean, to me, I'm willing to pay most of those consequences. Just to take an example, I've decided to go more actively into politics, and I have a very active Twitter account where I tweet about Danish politics. And I remember I talked to a career counselor at one point about this and told her, hey, do you think this is going to be a problem for me? And she said, yeah, definitely, this is going to be a problem for you. This is not something that you gain more audiences on in the music business typically, unless you make it part of your brand. And I think I just chose to accept that as a consequence and say, well, in that case, my audiences have to be okay with this. And if that means getting a smaller audience, having a more alternative audience for my artwork, that's okay for me. On the other hand, I might not need to say everything that comes into my mind. I can also choose to focus very strategically on a few things that are important enough to me that I feel like I need to voice my opinions on them. So
That's a wonderful
yeah.
example, Sophie. And I feel now I'm a cultural commentator. I mean, I call myself an unapologetic gay scholar slash gay literary
Mm-hmm.
provocateur. And
Uh-huh.
yes, I want everyone out there, especially if you're thinking of going into more entrepreneurial work. You've seen the title of this podcast episode and
Mm-hmm.
you're like, okay, I need to hear this conversation. Sophie nor myself are painting this picture that we're not taking risks because there aren't consequences, because the consequences of what I'm doing is, I don't want to say that I wouldn't be able to get a full-time professor position, but there are definitely universities where I'm so public now with all of the aspects of my work and identity that like attracts like. It'll be a university that really wants that gay literary provocative voice. Like they know that
Mm-hmm.
these are the topics that I talk about. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I'm not going to if I am at that university, I still want to continue the media work I do. And not all
Mm-hmm.
universities, a lot of them are not comfortable with someone bringing in their own brand and their own business, unless
Mm-hmm.
it's someone who, like, I'm sure you know, Sophie, I'm sure it's the same in the music business, until a place sees your value and your work, that you've created such a brand that people have latched onto it, and then they realize it's
Mm-hmm.
a safe bet. Like I've always seen, if you made a name
Mm-hmm.
for yourself, then it's okay. It's kind of like an actor. I feel
Yeah.
actors are entrepreneurs, and they're always auditioning. They're always not knowing where their paycheck is coming from. I kind of feel like I've entered back into the theater community because it
Yeah.
has that similar model um, of uncertainty. But
Mm-hmm.
like you've said, can we really put a price on our freedom of ideas? That's when I came to this understanding of I can't go back. Like I can't go back from what I've
Yeah.
created. And if that's always in your mind, you're not going to be satisfied in a job where you feel you are not reaching your creative potential, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Andrew Rimby, and I'm so excited to be talking about Broadview Press. You might be asking, what is Broadview Press, Andrew? Broadview is an independent academic publisher in the humanities that produces high quality, pedagogically useful books for use in university and college classrooms. They publish in the humanities, mainly English studies, writing, philosophy, and history, just to name a few genres. And recently, I had on Dr. Jason Holt, who wrote all about the philosophy of sport. And what better summer episode than to talk about what happens when a philosopher dissects the beautiful aesthetics of sporting culture? In the spring, I had on doctors Kyle Stedman and Tanya Rodriguez to talk about what is sound writing, how to make audio projects in the college classroom, how to even have your students create podcasts. And then in the winter, I had on Dr. Jeffrey Weinstock. He talked about analyzing pop culture. Yes, I even sneak in some Real Housewives questions and how to teach composition and make it fun. He uses this whole metaphor about being a mad scientist in this gothic lab. And in the fall, I had on Dr. Ann Stevens, and she talked about literary theory and criticism. And yes, the university season is upon us. So, what better way to talk about the college classroom than to actually understand what is literary theory? That's a wonderful episode for all of you out there who teach literary studies. I love Broadview Press. Make sure you use their exclusive code. It's Ivory Tower on broadviewpress.com. You get 20% off all Broadview Press publications. Okay, until the next Broadview Press interview. And now back to the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. LGBT stories are universal, but each one speaks to the individual heart and soul of the writer telling it. Do you have a story to tell? Or have you been moved by an LGBT book, film, painting, television show, or other form of media? Then the Gay and Lesbian Review wants to hear from you. The GNLR believes in bringing awareness to queer art and artists through reviews, commentary, and thought pieces in which the author relates their personal lives to a particular piece of art, a novel, a movie. In addition to the print magazine, the GNLR also publishes articles on its blog. So you can see all of this on glreview.org. That's glreview.org. Remember, you get 50% off your subscription of the GL Review magazine when you use the promo code ITBR50. That's 50% off your print or digital subscription when you use promo code ITBR50. To learn more about submitting an article for the GNLR, visit their writer's guidelines. The link is located at the bottom of their homepage. And if you have any questions, email Stephen Hemrick. That's STEPHEN dot HEMRICK at glreview.org. The GNLR and its readers can't wait to see what you have to say.
Yeah, and this is another one of those balances that you have to really ask yourself, where is my balance? You know, how much freedom do I need versus how much security do I need? And again, that's very, very different for different people. Like some people are very comfortable with having a full-time job, you know, having a steady income and going to work every day, and maybe only getting to realize their visions in their spare times or side projects. And then there are other people for whom, you know, freedom is much more important, like me and like you. But then again, I think we also should not underestimate
Yes.
the value of very basic financial security. I mean, basic financial security basically tops everything else, unless it's like a life or death kind of value that you're fighting for.
Yes. Yes.
So, yeah.
No, I'm glad you brought that up because so many out there have different social um class concerns, certain,
Yeah.
not even like if you're struggling to, have your electricity and, a secure internet and your groceries, you
Hmm.
want that you want that security of the workplace paycheck. So,
Yeah.
yes, I am not I definitely understand. And not everyone, I also think both of us are saying too, everyone can bring in entrepreneurial. I believe everyone can learn from the entrepreneurial spirit of, like you've said, this balance, but it doesn't mean that everyone is suited to be an entrepreneur, can manage a team. Because I think that's another thing too, is I have to,
Hmm.
I'm managing a team. I have wonderful interns from Stony Brook University. And
Hmm.
that's the thing is I always am so grateful and, give Stony Brook their flowers because I've just met wonderful people there. And my
Hmm.
director, Susan Shekel, incredible director, she even said, like, Andrew, you're now going into, like, I see you really, I would advocate for my students to keep applying for professor jobs, but I can tell that you really should expand your business right now. Like, this is time for you to do this work. And if you want to
Hmm.
apply for those jobs, they'll be there, but you're not going to know if you don't try. And I really knew I had to make this decision and I always use pull the trigger. I know that that can be,
Uh-huh.
you know, a problematic phrase, but it really is
Right.
like
Right.
literally opening the door and going for that marathon run of just sprinting. Like, let's just see what happens. But something I did
Mm.
want to bring up that you had mentioned before is about partnerships, because I'm so curious about your advice. Like you said, sometimes you think someone is offering you the world, the stars, the moon, but you have
Hmm.
to be very strategic. And I've learned this. I've been burned, or I didn't have boundaries. I'm not going to say I was burned because I should have seen some signs. And now I learned,
Uh-huh.
you do learn from your mistakes, hopefully. And if you keep repeating them, then seek a therapist. But when did you know, or what was a good lesson of, I thought this was really going to work out with a partner, but what I was putting into this equation was not on an equilibrium. Like this was unbalanced.
Oh well, I think there are multiple examples of that. I don't really want to highlight any particular partner. But I will say this, that it's so important at the relationship or at the beginning of any relationship really to communicate about expectations, because like what happens so often is that there will be some kind of misalignment, again the alignment idea here, right? There'll be some kind of misalignment of expectations, and maybe both parties to this collaboration think that the other person is on the same page, and then it turns out at some later point that, hey, you did not have the same expectations and you have problems. You have somebody being unhappy, withdrawing from the collaboration, like acting out, whatever. This is something that's happened to me multiple times. And I think one of the things that's happened to me is that my organization looks quite professional in, the way that we present to the world. And you might get the impression, because we have big name musicians like the Emerson String Quartet and others in the same league. You might get the impression that we also have a very large administrative organization and a very big budget supporting all of that, which we don't. So I've sometimes had the experience that people who've approached me for collaboration or worked with me in some sense have not known that, and for that reason been unhappy with whatever level of support we've been able to provide for them. And I mean, that's a very difficult situation, I think, to be in as an entrepreneur, because you really do want to sell your product. You want to show what it's worth. And I do think that New Music for Strings has a really valuable product, but yeah, so sometimes people don't know that there are limits to what you can do with a very small administrative organization, as opposed to more established institutions who have like a whole team of full-time employees taking care of different aspects of how the business runs. And I think this is something that any like small scale entrepreneur can relate to in some sense. Like if you have people coming in who are used to working maybe in big organizations, they're used to getting like a more specialized kind of support from the staff that you're simply not able to provide if you're like a small business with just a few employees handling administrative stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, everything you just said, check, check, check. It's
Yeah.
what I've thought about. Even I think that because of all the promotion you have to do as an entrepreneur, that
uh,
because you're out there so much, people assume that you're rolling in the money, and the
yeah.
majority are not rolling in the money. And like, I'm even looking now into grants from New York, which hopefully, cross fingers, everyone. It seems like I'm eligible for one. I know you've had to write a lot of grants, Sophie, and
Yes.
it's what I've now had to take pause with, because it's wonderful. If you get a message where someone says, "Oh, I can't wait to talk to you. I want to meet with you." Take a pause. Like if it doesn't seem that it's coming from, I want to promote your work as well, like always know you have the option to say, um, let me think about what you're asking and offering, and let me get back to you. You have that option. You have the option to say, this does not work for me right now, but I appreciate you reaching out, and hopefully we can do something in the future. Or even what I've done a lot is, well, let's have a short meeting and let me hear out what you're offering, because I'm not exactly sure yet how my business can help with your vision.
Mhm.
But I would love eventually if we could cross collaborate. And again, sometimes it's just going to be a no. And I've had to say, sometimes, Andrew, you have to say no, and it's not you being disrespectful. But other times, I do
Right.
want to hear what that person is offering. It's, but a lot of the times, they're asking you for money. And that's what now I've had to take pause, because we have to realize, yes, sometimes taking a financial risk is worth it. I know it's not comfortable to put out money when you're a small business. Sometimes it is worth it though, right? Like you have to hear through what they're going to deliver. But other times, and I'm
Hmm.
sure you've seen this, Sophie, they're asking for money and you never feel that there's a reciprocal side of it. Like, okay,
Right, right.
how is this helping me?
Yeah. And a good example of that is just like people cold emailing you with like whatever art they want to sell. And yeah, we all know that doesn't work. Like it's just a waste of time to do that.
Yeah.
Um,
And,
yeah.
and I and I think for our last part, which I can't believe this has gone by so quick, but
Yeah.
I feel that we definitely should address if this is, okay with you, Sophie. Where right now, like you checking in right now,
Uh,
what is at the forefront of your mind in terms of these are my goals, this is what I want to manifest, this is what I need to work through. Like, what's your vision? Where do you hope to bring new music for strings or even just and Sophie Andersen as your own brand?
right. Um, well, there's kind of two answers to that. So one thing is that I don't think you can always see what's ahead, and I'm kind of in one of those junctions right now where like there are several strands of opportunity that I'm trying to pursue, and I don't know which ones are going to end up being the dominant ones, and no, there's no other way really than just like take it one step at a time. And I always say like do the next thing that feels like a logic next step. So I put a lot of faith in the universe to kind of guide me in that sense. So I take some steps and I see how it works out. One thing I've really learned is that I don't want to waste my time knocking on doors that are just tightly shut. I want to find the doors that open easily because it's really not worth it to like struggle too much to if you want something specific. So I think for me it's better to just have some intentions about how you want to realize your own potential or the potential of an organization or whatever it is, and then just like taking small steps and see what kind of feedback you get back from the universe. So that's one side of things. I would say another one, which is something that I've neglected in my own life for the past many years, which I think is becoming more important to me, is just finding more pleasure in life. And I know that sounds like kind of banal thing, but really it's not, because so many of us, when we're young, spend our time thinking about what's the next thing I can do that gets me closer to where I want to be. And we're always thinking ahead to where we want to be and how can we further our own agenda more. And then, one day you wake up and realize, wait, I'm 50 years old. What happened? So, you know, I think it's really important to just remember to focus on whatever brings you joy in your everyday life, even if it's not if life is not secure financially or in terms of relationships or whatever it is. And yeah, so that's what my focus will be on.
That is so powerful, Sophie. I mean, I agree with you. Taking pleasure in what you're doing is empowering. It's why I just feel so empowered right now of knowing who I am and not being afraid. Like, even if that means that I now am empowered on my body journey of positivity or,
Mm-hmm.
you know, even being risque in certain places. I think for the
Uh-huh.
longest time, I was so nervous that I was going to be judged. And then I thought, wait, you're now steering your ship. This is on you. Like, and if something doesn't work out for me, like
Mm-hmm.
if I feel that my energy is being depleted, cut the cord. Like this is I'm not signing blood contracts. And
Mm-hmm.
I think for the longest time, you're right. For me, it was always get the PhD. Like that was everyone who
Mm-hmm.
knew me. Like that was my all-encompassing goal, which was beautiful. It was wonderful. I did it. And I'm so proud I went through it. But now it's time for us, you, Sophie, me, everyone out there, to really bet on ourselves and whatever that means. It doesn't mean, like I said, you have to become an entrepreneur full time, but to bet
Right.
on yourself to even go for that walk and just tune out of, like, even at the workplace, to say to your supervisor, I really need to just take a walk. Your supervisor will probably be like, okay, I know you need that. Like, I think a lot of times in corporate spaces, people think that they have to keep performing, and like sit at their desk. And that's going to dictate how they're seen in everyone else's eyes, that it makes them look better and more powerful. But guess what? The more honest people are the ones who others connect with. Like, just say, you know what? I need my break.
Hmm.
And you will get a break. Like, you have to take your break. That's
Right.
something, like, I do think what we're doing right now, if we did enter into a corporate space, you bring that wisdom and energy. And I do think corporations are starting to really be restructured as well because of
Uh-huh.
people needing their time and needing their energy to be at its capacity, at its full level, which I think the pandemic taught us about
Hmm.
these lessons that we're even espousing right now. Um, yeah.
Hmm.
So my last, no, go ahead if you're going to say something, Sophie.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that I think the perspective you're bringing in, especially regarding corporate culture, is very much a US perspective, which I would totally agree with. If I were to like add a European dimension to this, I would say that actually you could go in the other direction and say like it doesn't always have to be about having structured work-life balance and like really thinking about how to obtain that and how to do your best on all fronts of life and like achieve both at the workplace and at home and your relationship, whatever it is. But also sometimes to just like allow yourself to go with your passion and just, forget about time, forget about taking
Mm.
breaks and all of that and just like really get to the bottom of your passion. And to me that's the most positive vision of excellence that you can have. It's like really going with that passion and just like working and working and working on the details of it and until you've created something that you can really take pleasure and pride in. So that's a kind of positive work mentality that I'm sometimes missing because we talk so much about discipline and you've been trained in acting, I've been trained in music. We know what discipline is and it's a really useful framework to have. But at one point you just have to let go of that framework and let it work for you. Um, and I think we're probably at that point.
Hi, this is Dr. Andrew Rimby, and I'm so excited to shout out the Gay and Lesbian Review, who is helping to sponsor the ITBR podcast. For all of you out there, the Gay and Lesbian Review is a bi-monthly magazine where you can discover new things about gay and lesbian literature, history, and culture. And the GL Review publishes essays in a wide range of disciplines, as well as a slew of reviews of books, plays, and movies, and a number of special features, such as artist profiles and their popular art memo column. Each issue of the magazine brings you consistently intelligent, lively, thought-provoking articles focused on a unifying theme. For example, their September-October issue centers on the theme Cracking the Closet. So, starting in the 19th century, a number of artists and writers found ways to crack the closet by expressing their sexuality between the lines or in the interstices of their work. For example, Ignacio Darnad, who is a friend of the ITBR podcast, he's been on our show, writes all about illustrator J.C. Leyendecker, whose work for Ivory Soap and Arrow Collars gave him plenty of opportunities to draw pictures of well-dressed and at times scantily dressed American men. And you also can find an article by Vernon Rosario, who has been on the podcast, and he talks about the quest for sex in the Middle Ages. So, to subscribe, visit glreview.org. That's glreview.org. Click subscribe. So on their website, go all the way over to the right-hand side and you'll see the button subscribe. Click subscribe and enter the promo code ITBR50 because you're getting 50% off your subscription to the print or digital edition of the Gay and Lesbian Review magazine. I can't wait for you all to have your copy of the Gay and Lesbian Review magazine, and make sure that you take a picture when your magazine arrives or when you're reading it online and tag the GL Review on Instagram and ITBR, and we'll share it out in our stories. Enjoy your reading, everyone. Hi, everyone. Happy almost holiday season. Because the holidays are upon us, I'm sure so many of you out there are thinking, oh my, what am I going to get my friends, my family, my children, my romantic partner, my husband, my wife, any, significant person in your life? Look no further than my good friend Mandy Bengal, who makes handmade crocheted items. Her company is called Mandy Made It. You can follow her on Instagram at MANDEE Made It, and you will see all of these crocheted items that she's going to be able to customize for you, including special characters, sports team figures, even holiday items like a snowflake or a Christmas tree. So I have Mandy's keychains. I have the poison apple from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I have a rainbow flag that she made me. So Mandy is able to really customize an order just depending on what your hobbies and passions are, and what item you're really looking for. So because you're listening to me talk about Mandy, she said that anyone who goes to Mandy Made It on Instagram and orders from her, and they've heard the Ivory Tower Boiler Room ad, she will give you all a free Ivory Tower Boiler Room t-shirt with your order. So head right now to Mandy Made It. If you were really looking for that special gift, now you don't have to look any further because I have you covered with Mandy Made It. Okay, I hope you all enjoy your items from Mandy Made It. And please make sure that you take a photo of your crocheted items so that we can share it out on our social media. I know Mandy would love that, and I would love to see what you all are ordering from her. She even has an adorable pillow called Netflix and Chill, and she has these cute coasters that she crochets for your favorite coffee or tea mug. So enjoy all your Mandy Made It products. Absolutely. And I think as well, there was like one more point that you had brought up that I really was like, okay, I have to end with this. But in terms of just even discipline, like letting go of certain structures, that was what it was. Like you
Uh-huh.
even talking about you like journeying, letting time kind of be not a barrier. I think it's so beautiful because I just remember times I would sit with you, Sophie, and
Mm-hmm.
you were so present in what you were doing. And like I was always the calendar. I still am very into my organization, but I think
Mm-hmm.
I've started to learn, okay, like uh let go of certain goals, future oriented goals that you really, Andrew, is it going to bring you happiness, or you think you have to just keep adding to your checklist? Like, do you have to keep
Mm-hmm.
just having something on the back burner? And
Mm-hmm.
when you brought up earlier about doors that are always closed to you, that has really resonated with me right now because there are some, when I reach out to someone and I feel that there's a barrier already, and I'm
Uh-huh.
someone who really believes in treating others kindly and understanding others' boundaries. And if there's someone who doesn't respect your boundaries or they're operating fully on ego, and I'm sure we all know those people
Mm-hmm.
where, they're not listening to you
Right.
and they are um, very diva centered, we'll put it. Um, and in the entertainment business, I'm starting to have more entertainment connections, and I've had to be more open to this of how people treat each other. Or if others think they're more high profile than you see this a lot, that there are some who think it entitles them to treat others harshly. And I think it's
Right.
so unethical and it really is upsetting to witness. But why continue to bang on the door if the other party's not receptive? Like I've had to let go of,
Mm.
for me, why am I going to keep banging on doors just to add something to my to-do list when I'm so content and already have so much I'm enjoying doing that those other
Yeah.
opportunities are present? I just have to turn to the people who we're both filling each other's cup. We're both giving each other
Hmm.
happiness, contentment, and invigorating energy.
Right, and that's the thing, if we're so focused on pursuing something that we want outside of what we already have, then we forget to notice the people who are actually appreciating what we do. Like we have this thinking maybe that, okay, if somebody appreciates me, something's wrong with them. That's the kind of thinking I think that we can resort to if we're not like 100% confident about our own value on the marketplace. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
that's really important,
Yeah.
and
So,
to also show
Sophie,
those people that you actually appreciate them.
exactly, exactly. Well, I appreciate you. And I
Same.
want everyone out there to know how they can follow, your festival, what work you're
Uh,
doing, where can they find you on social media?
I have a website called AnnSophieAndersen.com. That's my personal artist website. Then the festival website is called newmusicforstrings.org, O-R-G. Then I'm also very active on Twitter under Anne S. Andersen. That's my Danish language account. I have an English language account too, but it's not super active. Yeah, and those
And you're
those
on
are my most
Instagram.
active. I'm on Instagram too. Yes, and
Yeah, yeah.
if you like dogs, then you should follow me on Instagram. I have lots of dog pictures.
Good. I have all the links in our show notes to find
Awesome.
Sophie Sophie Andersen's website, and her new music for Strings Festival. So thank you so much, Sophie. This has been a pleasure, and I really hope that this resonated with those listening and that they reach out to you, reach out to me. Let us know if you want Sophie back on the show. I'm sure Sophie would come back on and we'll do a check-in. Especially like as your festival is gearing you're gearing up for it again. So this has been wonderful. I'm just so appreciative to talk to you, Sophie.
Thanks so much, Andrew. Definitely the pleasure is on my side as well.
Thank you. Okay. Well, bye to everyone out there. And
Bye.
I'm sure I'll be talking to Sophie more. Okay. Bye, Sophie.
Bye.
Hi, this is Dr. Andrew Rimby. I want to thank you so much for listening to the ITBR and TCIA episodes. Make sure, if you don't, follow, rate, and review us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Also, make sure you follow ITBR on TikTok and Instagram at Ivory Tower Boiler Room, and TCIA on TikTok and Instagram at True Crime and Academia. Also, we have a brand new Patreon membership system. So I just want to explain it to you all quickly. So if you want to become an ITBR student, it is $5 a month. You get ad-free ITBR and TCIA episodes and video interviews. If you want to become an ITBR professor for $10 a month, you get all of those ad-free benefits, but you also get access to both the ITBR and TCIA book clubs. You can join both book clubs, get ad-free episodes, plus you're going to get all of our extra video episodes. So I am rewatching Queer as Folk. Christian Garcia from That Old Gay Classic Cinema is joining us, and he's rewatching Smash. Mary is going to start to rewatch shows as well. You even get access to what I'm calling the ITBR Teaches. So if I'm recapping a movie or a TV show, including Barbie, Halloween movies, and horror films, you get access to that as well. And then I also am offering consultation services. So for $30, you get your first initial consultation with me. It's a 1 hour private Zoom. I will help create your podcast, your media brand. How do you navigate academia as an undergrad or a grad student? Do you need help with technology? It could be teaching tools, Spotify for podcasters, video editor software. Do you want to expand your social media presence as an artist, writer, podcaster, or academic? Do you want help on how to create a public humanities identity like I've created for myself? So I'm offering that consultation service. You can find more info about it on Patreon. And you also can join our book clubs. If you want to just join the ITBR book club or the TCIA book club, you can do that for $4 a month. Patreon.com/Ivory Tower Boiler Room. That is patreon.com/Ivory Tower Boiler Room. Thanks to the team, Mary DePippi, our chief contributor, and thank you to our 2 new interns from Stony Brook University, Jonathan and Sarah. Bye, everyone. Until next time.